I'm here to present my genre project today. As I started thinking about what I wanted to do with this project, I thought about books that I really loved, and I remembered reading Lois Lowry's Number the Stars when I was in college, actually taking a children's literature class. And I remember just being captivated with that story. Although I had never been a student that really loved history and studying dates and times, I could really get into that period of time by reading through that character's experiences. I also remembered as a child loving the Little House books for the same reason. It was something different that I could experience through that character's eyes. So that really touched me. And as I started thinking about that, I thought about the books that I have in my first grade classroom library. I don't have a lot of historical fiction, and I decided that that was a real area of growth and one that I could focus on for this project. Similarly, in the spring, I took Dr. Christensen's critical pedagogy class. And in that class, she challenged us to think about our classroom libraries and think about the characters in our books. Were they characters that reflected the diversity among our students? And as I looked around at my books, I realized that most of the characters looked a whole lot like I did. And I knew that that was something that I needed to invest in books that represented the diversity of my students and of our school. So I decided for this project to focus on a small piece of historical fiction. I decided to look at the civil rights movement and to find books that show the courage and the bravery of people at that time. But as I really started looking at those books, I figured out real quickly that you can't tell that story without looking back further and looking at the courage that was shown during times of slavery. I found lots of books on the Underground Railroad and the struggles of the African American people. And I decided that I could take those struggles and really build my classroom library to show character traits that are amazing of people: bravery, courage, compassion. And I think these award-winning books do a great job with that. Almost all of the books that you see here on the shelf have won awards, some of them multiple awards, for fabulous writing. And I'd like to share some of these with you in the first part of my presentation. The second part today, I'll focus on 3 authors in this genre and introduce you to some of their works. First of all, as we think about the literary elements with historical fiction, setting and character are really the most important elements. The setting must be accurate, it must be authentic, with time and place. It must be a story that really could have happened. Now, the characters could be real, or they may be fictional characters, but the time and the place must be accurate and authentic. So I wanted to start with one of my favorite books I found. This book is called Ron's Big Mission. Wow, this is a fabulous book because Ron loves his library as much as I do. And as I started reading, I saw a boy, you can see on the cover here, a plane in the distance. There's a boy who, in his bedroom, has a mobile of the planets. You see that he, on his way to the library, sees an airplane in the sky, and he can't wait to get to the library to check out some books on airplanes. But Ron's experience at the public library is very different from mine, because when Ron's ready to check out his books, he must get someone else to do that for him. He was not allowed to check out books on his own at this time. So a lady here comes in and offers to check out his books for him. But on this day, Ron decides that that's not what he wants to do. And he decides that he wants to check out books of his own. The librarian here refuses. She tells him that he knows the rules, that he's not allowed to check out books because of the color of his skin. Ron becomes very angry. He knows what is right, and he climbs up onto the counter here and starts a great commotion as all the patrons are looking on. Even the police are called. They come in to find out, and they say to him, "You know the rules." Ron is so sad. As his mother comes, he says to her, "I know what's right, and this is not right. This is wrong." I love as we watch this and we turn the page, we see here that quietly another librarian has left the scene going on. And she's making Ron a library card here. I love this. She knows what's right, and she's making that wise choice for him. As great as this book is, I was even more moved when I got to the author's notes about this book. Because Ron was based on a true character, a real person, Ron McNair. Ron McNair grew up and did become a pilot. He even became an astronaut. Sadly, Ron was killed when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded on January 28th, and he lost his life doing something so brave for our country. This story was told. The author interviewed his mother and others at the library at that time to get his story, and it is a fabulous book to share with children about standing up for what they know is right. This won the Notable Social Studies Trade Book Award in 2010. Back of the Bus is another fabulous book. This tells the story of Rosa Parks and her stand when she would not give up her bus seat, but it tells this story through the eyes of this young boy. He just happened to be on the bus that day playing with his marble, and he tells of the determination and the courage that he sees in Rosa Parks' eyes and her facial expression and in that of his mother. Very powerful for children, a great way to study that event in history to help children understand that even more. The next book I wanted to highlight, Ruth and the Green Book. Wow, this is a fabulous book. I hate to admit that I didn't know about a green book. Ruth is traveling with her parents from Chicago to rural Alabama to see her grandmother. And the trip, as exciting as it is in the beginning, becomes very sad for her because she realizes that her family can't stay at a hotel where others stay, and they can't go into a gas station and use the restroom or even go into a restaurant to get food. And they become very sad, and you can see on her mother's face here just the sadness of this time period. Happily, Ruth and her family meet a man who sells them for 75 cents, I believe, a green book. And this green book was for African American families. It told them the places in all of the states where they could go to restaurants, where they could find gasoline, and where they could use the restrooms, where they could stay in hotels. So it was a guide for them traveling, and she just overcomes in such a great way that hatred of that time period. It's a really wonderful story. It actually won 3 awards in 2011. The American Library Association Notable Books for Children, the Jane Addams, it was an honor book, and the Society of School Librarians International. Fabulous. The Moon Over Star down here, this is another great book. This doesn't have as much to do with the civil rights movement as it does just that time period. This girl watches with her family as the United States lands on the moon, and talks with her grandfather about that. He had a lot of reservations. He knew of a lot of hungry people, a lot of people that were struggling because of poverty, and he wondered, was it wise for the United States to spend so much money on the space program? It's a great story of a family working together to figure out their beliefs with that. Going Someplace Special, another fabulous book about a library, again, which I do love. This girl is, I believe, 12 years old in the story, and as she goes out for a day's journey, she's walking along, realizing that there are a lot of places where she is not welcome at all. But she finds that she is welcomed at the Nashville Library, and I didn't realize, but the Nashville Libraries very quietly decided to integrate during a period of segregation, and she knew that she was welcome there. There are so many other fabulous books here. I'll have all of these in the brochure ready for us at our next class meeting with awards they've won. We'll all be reading One Crazy Summer together. There are great books about the Underground Railroad. Unspoken here is a fabulous wordless picture book about a young child who recognizes how horrible others are being treated, and she chooses the right thing. She sneaks food to give to a friend that's hiding in a shelter on their property. Fly Girl, a fabulous book here about a girl who wants to be a pilot just like her father. And in this book here, Ida is able to finally join because her skin is such a light color, and she's able to join because they think she's white. And finally, Busing Brewster here. I originally thought this would be great for first grade. But there's a lot of hatred in this book, with a rock shattering the school bus window, with people picketing as these children are bused across town. It's not one that I would feel comfortable sharing with my first graders, but wow, it is very powerful for older children. I look forward to sharing with you 3 authors in my next segment. Thanks.